Coming up on today's show, the SEC has now officially decided to go to a 9-game SEC schedule. So we're going to talk about that here on today's video. Also, some other general news and rumors out there surrounding the Crimson Tide. They selected their team captains the other day, and so also an update on the Jam Miller injury rumors as well. Before we get into that, though, make sure you guys turn those notifications on so you don't miss any Alabama football news out there. Go back to where you first subscribed. See up there where it says subscribe, it's got that little bell icon. Hit that, it'll bring up this right here, and it'll be selected on personalized. Go ahead and just change it to all so you get notified every single time we post something here on the channel. Whether it's a community post or whether it's a short or a video like this, don't miss any Alabama football news out there. Go ahead and change those notifications from personalized to all so you don't miss any Alabama football news. All right, first up on today's video. Yesterday, the SEC announced that they will be moving to a 9-game SEC schedule starting in 2026. This is what Greg Sankey said about the upcoming 9-game schedule. He said, adding a 9th SEC game underscores our university's commitment to delivering the most competitive football schedule in the nation. This format protects rivalries, increases competitive balance, and paired with our requirement to play an additional Power 4 opponent, and ensures the SEC teams are well prepared to compete and succeed in the college football playoffs. So the main things when it comes to this new 9-game SEC format here, there are still no divisions. That's something we already have right now. 3 annual opponents, so you're going to be playing the same 3 teams every single season. We'll touch on what 3 teams I think Alabama should play every season here in just a minute. Also, the remaining 6 games will rotate every other year. So basically, in a 4-year span, you're going to play every single SEC team home and away. I think that's a very positive thing for the athletes just in general. And, it was kind of ridiculous that, you could go to Alabama for 4 years and you might not play, a certain SEC team at all, whether it was home or away, while you were there in college. Also, you must play at least one Power 4 opponent. That also includes Notre Dame, which I think, generally speaking, Alabama's always done a really good job at scheduling at least, one other, Power 5 is what it used to be opponent on their schedule. Whether it was Wisconsin this year and last year, we played Florida State a bunch. We've played Michigan during the season in the past as well, especially those, used to be the Chick-fil-A kickoff game. Seem to always be a out-of-conference, Power 5 opponent at that point. So I really like the 9-game schedule, and we'll also talk about some pros on each of these things here as well in just a second. But I want to hear from you guys down at the pinned comment of today's video. Do you guys like the new 9-game SEC schedule? Let me know what you guys think down there at the pinned comment. Type Y for yes or N for no if you like or dislike the new 9-game SEC schedule. I think the new 9-game SEC schedule is a really good thing. And, in particular, it's really good for the strength of schedule aspect. Other conferences wanted the SEC to play a 9-game schedule. In order to make strength of schedule more meaningful, the SEC had to go down that route in terms of the College Football Playoff Committee to make strength of schedule more meaningful, which in my opinion was kind of dumb considering, the SEC already had one of the toughest strength of schedules in college football. We just had to make it a little bit more tougher in order to make strength of schedule matter a little bit more. Fine, that is what it is, whatever. At the end of the day, the top teams are going to make it regardless. I also love that we are going to be playing every single team in a 4-year span. You're going to have home and away games for every single team. Basically, the first 2 years is going to be, 6 teams home and away. And then the 2 years after that, you're going to have the other teams home and away as well. So, it used to be that a player, could go to Alabama or, any team in the SEC for 4 seasons and not play, whatever other team it is. It seems like sometimes we don't play Florida for a couple of years, maybe a Missouri or something like that. I really do think it's a positive that, You can go out there. You should be able to go. If you're playing in the SEC, you should be able to go and play in every single stadium in the SEC. And I think they did a really, really good job of making sure that that happens in the future. Now, the 3 annual opponents for Alabama, in my opinion, it should be Auburn, LSU, and Tennessee. I could really give a damn about playing anybody else on a yearly basis. Those are our main 3 rivals. Those 3 games, to me, are the most important games of the season. Obviously, outside of a national championship game or a playoff game or the SEC championship game, just during the regular season, those are the 3 teams that I want to play every single year. And, if they are going to indeed make strength of schedule matter a little bit more, I think those teams are really good teams to have on your schedule every single year. And a win at those locations are also really, really massive as well. Look, Auburn's not the best team every single year, but when Alabama plays at Auburn, it is always a very tough game. Wins at LSU, wins at Tennessee, wins at Auburn. Those are all really, really good wins on an SEC schedule. So what 3 teams would you like to play every single year? Get down there in the comments section and let me know what you guys think. Who are the 3 teams that you think Alabama should play every single season? All right, we'll continue with some more news and rumors here in just a second, but today's show is brought to you guys by Prize Picks. Preseason football is underway and college football is also back, so don't miss any of the action this season on Prize Picks. I use Prize Picks for so many different kinds of sporting events, whether it's professional football, baseball, basketball, college sports, MMA, and so much more. Prize Picks is a ton of fun, and if you guys know ball, you can win real money all season long on Prize Picks. And if you see these freebies, just like this NFL max discount here, it's Dak Prescott only has to throw for a half a yard. It is definitely going to happen in the first game of the season, so make sure you guys include that into your Prize Picks lineups as well. Prize Picks is very simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your cash. Prize Picks also invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out on your lineups even if it isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks does not hit. So download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That link's going to be down in the description of today's show. It's also going to be at the pinned comment of today's video as well. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Now, Alabama also recently voted for its team captains for the 2025 season, and I don't think either or any of these guys really should be a surprise to who those team captains are for Alabama. I don't think there is a better group of guys that they could have gone with for their team captains this season. They're going with Tim Keenan, Deontae Lawon, Parker Brailsford, and Ty Simpson, all voted by the team for those team captains. Deontae Lawon, he's a no-brainer. He was a captain last season as well. Tim Keenan, he really made his voice heard last season, and I think that's really highlighted if you go back and watch that Fox Nation documentary about Alabama. I think just the fact that he's really strong in his faith, I think a lot of guys on the team really admire that as well. Parker Brailsford, I think that makes a lot of sense. He is one of these leaders that came over from Washington with Kalen DeBoer. He was a starter there, and then he was a starter immediately here at Alabama, especially, replacing Seth McLaughlin. That was a good thing to have a good center in there for you. And then Ty Simpson as well. He really did win the team over this offseason, not just with his play. That was definitely a part of it, but, leadership was a big thing that the coaching staff and a lot of these players have raved about when it comes to the growth of Ty Simpson. His confidence has gotten a lot higher. And, the team really does stay talking about how fired he gets up, or how fired up he gets at practice as well when guys aren't necessarily doing the right things out there. And, this kind of goes back, to the other day when we did that video as well where Chris Fallica said that, Alabama didn't really have any leadership on this team, and I think that is just so far from the truth. You have these 4 guys right there, but then you also have 8 other guys that, just off the top of my head, I was able to rattle off. Jeremy Bernard, he's going to come into this season as a huge leader on the offensive side of the ball for Alabama. Ryan Williams, I understand he's only a sophomore, 18 years old, but the guy is mature beyond his years. He's going to be a leader. Jam Miller, obviously, he's going to be out for the first couple of games of the year. But, when you talk about this Alabama team, they have a ton of leadership both on the offensive side of the ball and on the defensive side of the ball. Hell, Jamarian Latham's been here for like 5 years at this point already. If anybody knows the Alabama Crimson Tide, it's Jamarian Latham. Bray Hubbard as well, coming back for his second season, really being a starter after last year, going in for Keon Sabb, James Smith, Justin Jefferson. These are just a couple of guys that I was just off the top of my head really able to think of when it comes to these leaders for Alabama. So I don't think you're really going to have a lack of leadership this season. So let me know. Get down in the comments section. I want you guys to sound off down there. Are you ready for Alabama versus Florida State? We are just 1 week away. Get down there to the comments section and let me know if you are ready for Alabama versus Florida State. All right, our last thing before we get out of here today, Kalen DeBoer also confirmed to ESPN's Chris Lowe that they expect to have Jam Miller back by that Georgia game. So it was kind of originally, speculated, reported that he was going to miss the first couple of games of the season. I think I've seen 6 to 8 weeks on that collarbone injury being thrown out there. But, what Alabama was saying was that he is going to miss at least the first game of the season. Now, it really does seem like that Georgia game is that expected return there for Jam Miller. So, he's going to miss the first 3 games of the season, but Alabama luckily does have that bye week before that Georgia game as well. So, Florida State, sure, you would love to have him out there, but I think this Alabama running back room right now is absolutely loaded. You have Daniel Hill, you have Dre Washington that you got out of the transfer portal. You also have Richard Young that a lot of people are very excited about as well. And then you have other guys as well, like A.K. Deer, another 5-star that you got last year in last year's recruiting class, and Kevin Riley in this room as well. Sure, you would love to have Jam Miller out there, especially because he usually does a number on Georgia. So getting him back for SEC play for that game at Georgia is a very, very big win if he indeed does come back by that time. Make sure you guys are subscribed right here to the Alabama Football Report. We're going to be live for every single Alabama football game of the season. We might also have something cooked up for you guys, a very special thing coming up this week as well. So do not miss out on that. Make sure you are subscribed. That's youtube.com/@RollTideTV.